What's going on? What's going on, everyone who's actually watching this podcast right now? First of all, guys, welcome to the Nikhil Sai Show, which is hosted by me, the Nikhil Sai. And guess what's going on today? We are back with another amazing two comma club interview. So this interview is going to be crazy. In case if you're a coach, consultant, agency owner who is trying to attract high ticket clients, you should definitely listen to this complete podcast. So make sure to grab some notes and pen and make sure to take notes in this podcast session because it's going to be amazingly valuable. Now, the actual podcast guest who's joining us today has mastered the microwave method to get consistent clients using automated group funnels. Right, this is so much interesting stuff. So just make sure to stick around, guys. So again, let's not waste any time and actually welcome Dan Bolton, CEO at highticketcommunity.com. Hey, Dan.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely, Dan. Glad to have you. And Dan, you really are completely changing the way people actually acquire clients. I really love the movement you're trying to create in the space where everyone is trying to teach something different, but you have created completely new terminology in the space with automated group funnels. So again, let's start with your backstory first so that people can actually relate to where you come from and what kind of background you've been through so that they can get some inspiration like, hey, I can do it too. So Dan, can you please start with your backstory? Like how did all of this crazy journey started?
Yeah, for sure. Well, firstly, thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate that. So for me, if you can tell by my accent, I'm here from New Zealand, not from Australia, as we can often be mistaken. So from Australia, from New Zealand. And I grew up here, and I had a pretty crazy upbringing. I'm sure for some of your listeners, they'll be able to relate. I grew up with a single mom. Dad wasn't really in the picture. Really early on, my older brother and sister, probably the nice way to say it is they were into like underground economies, but probably the more truthful is like there were like drugs and all sorts of things going on in our family. And so at the age of like 10, 11, 12, like I got really heavily involved in that. Like I remember like New Year's Eve, just drinking until I was puking my guts out as a 10-year-old. And that was kind of like a really crazy way to be starting like my teenage years. And what was even crazier was in the midst of all of that, I started going to a church. Now, keep in mind, like my family was not religious in any way, shape, or form. I actually had a neighbor who I fancied. It was a girl my age, and her family went to church, and so they invited me along sometime. And so at about 13 years old, I started going to church. And that was a really pivotal moment for me because regardless of what you think of faith, religion, church, that kind of thing, my life at that point was going down a very distinct path. And the path was going to be drinking and drugs, and it was probably going to be a life of crime, and it was probably like other members of my family going to end up in prison. And there was a moment like as a 13-year-old that was now being exposed to this whole other world through a church, where I realized I had this opportunity to make choices and to choose the path that I was going to take moving forward. And that was really pivotal for me. But being far from perfect, I ended up dropping out of school when I was 16. Then at 17 became a church intern because I was still very much involved in that world. And long story short, I'm 31, so from age 18 to 27, I was a youth pastor. So I predominantly worked as teenagers, starting from when I was a teenager myself. And that was the majority of my 20s. I'm 31 now, so I started what I'm doing now 3 years ago. But what shaped me the most was working in this church, this not-for-profit, not getting paid very much, and basically just hanging out with teenagers and young adults with my time. And there were so many incredible skills I learned in there that ended up translating to what I'm doing now. Although on paper it looks very different. It's like I was a pastor and then ended up going into marketing and sales. But what happened during that time was I spoke on stage in some way, shape, or form over 500 times, from groups of 50 to groups of 5,000. And so it developed my ability to communicate. And then when I stepped out of what I was doing in the church and started to work for myself and wanted to launch like a social media marketing agency, this ability to communicate, I realized like communicating from a stage and communicating from a social platform on social media, a lot of the same principles applied. And so that's kind of what I've been doing for the last 3 years. And as you mentioned, we've been pioneering like this new way of acquiring clients for coaches. And so the really quick backstory in the business journey was this kind of 3 stages. The first was we did everything for everyone. And when I say we, I really mean me. Like I was the whole business, right? And I built funnels and ran ads and managed social media. And then the next phase of the business came where I was still doing things for people, but then I started to do things for just a few people. And so rather than doing everything for everyone, I was now just focused on helping coaches and consultants generate sales calls. And that was it. And that was what all our agency focused in on. And that's what helped us earn our first million. And then the next stage of our business came from us then teaching what we were doing that was working so well. And so long-winded way of saying like how we got to here and kind of pioneering what we're doing on the client acquisition side was the different evolutions of our business to now just be focused on teaching people how to consistently get clients and grow predictably using, what we call like the automated group funnel, which is, signature offers and virtual assistants and appointment setters, things like that.
Yeah. Absolutely, Dan. Wow, what a crazy story. And I think this is really tap into a lot of people who are having the kind of background you did. So like some people are having like one small setback in their life. Let's say their parents are not good or they don't have the right career path or right education. They feel depressed and they go so much stressed on that they didn't have it. They think that, okay, this is a missing piece. That's why I'm unable to become successful. But now we can see in your journey how you came from a different situation, which we can never imagine a 10-year-old can be in that situation to where you are right now, which is I think the complete transformation is actually having that spiritual energy in your life is what really transforms you as a different person. So I think there's a lot of key learning for people, especially who are in a different phase. That was really amazing journey, Dan. We really enjoyed that. Thanks for sharing that. Absolutely, it was really inspirational. So let's get to the next question, Dan. And again, coming back to the point, you have literally pioneered the way actually coaches and consultants are actually marketing. And Dan, this is like a bull run happening when it comes to the coaches and consultant space. Like everyone is a coach and consultant right now in 2021. Like this is crazy place to be in, especially in 2021. So we'd love to hear you are helping your clients to cut short all of these people and become the go-to expert. So we'd love to know more about like how you're actually helping coaches and consultants to stand out. So what a coach or consultant or an agency owner needs to do to become the go-to person in the industry.
Yeah, that's such a good question. And it's one I'm getting more and more from both people who are trying to get started and are really struggling to get traction, but I'm getting it a lot as well from people who have experienced success in the past. Maybe it was 3 years ago, they were running VSLs and webinars and it just felt easier. And now they're struggling with the kind of revenue roller coaster and they're struggling to keep things consistent. And I literally got a message 2 days ago from one of our clients who just joined our program. And he's like, listen, dude, like, I know this is working for you guys, but how do I get it to work for me? Because I just don't know why people would want to work with me over, insert big brand here, or like all the different competitors. And I think there's a really simple way to see this. I think more than ever, this is still the best time to be a coach. Because even though supply is increasing, meaning there's more coaches than ever before, demand is increasing. I think people's distrust of traditional education is at an all-time high. And I now have friends that like 3 years ago fully didn't know what I did. Like they thought I was a drug dealer or running a pyramid scheme. Now seeing like online education and coaching and consulting as a very, very respectable, trusted path to hit their goals and learn about whatever they want to learn about. So I would say like people need to first understand that while supply is increasing and everyone in your world seems to be a coach and a consultant doing the same thing you are, demand is also increasing. The second thing is, this brings me to like a really important point, which is that as a coach or consultant, you need to understand your clients do not just buy what you do, they buy who you are. I'm going to say that again. They don't just buy what you do, they buy who you are. And so what I mean by that is there are plenty of people that, like me, teach what I teach, right? Whether it's on the broad spectrum of helping coaches get clients or whether it's like specifically around appointment setters or groups or whatever it might be. Yeah. And so trying to play the game of I'm better than them and my marketing is like all bravado of like, well, I'm better and there's plenty of people that have bigger businesses than I have that have been around longer than I have. And so for any of us to try and play the better game, we're probably going to lose, right?
100%.
And so the only way to really stand out is not to focus on being better, but focus on being different. Now, of course, we do want to be the best we can be. So I'm not saying don't focus on quality, but it's really where you come into not just being better, but being different. And firstly, before we even get into the tactics of like your method and mechanism and things like that, the best way to stand out is to be authentically yourself. And I don't just mean like, don't pretend to be someone else and just be yourself and like be confident who you are. But like, think about the story that I just shared. I mean, firstly, I'm far from perfect when it comes to sharing my story, but the fact that I have a story like mine, that I grew up in a very dysfunctional, crazy family, and that my childhood being that there was drugs and drinking and violence and siblings in jail, and then dropping out of high school at 16, and then becoming a youth pastor for 8 years and 9 years, like that's a unique story, right? And
100%.
so I have a different way of seeing the world than a lot of my contemporaries, like other people who are doing the same thing. We're just different people because we've gone through different things. We've got different stories. I'm also married and I'm 31. I've been married coming up in 2 weeks, 9 years. I've been with my wife for 12 years. We have 2 kids. Like there's all these parts of who I am that make me who I am. And one of the best marketing advantages you can cultivate in 2021 and 2022 is focusing on what parts of who you are going to be front and center of your brand and your marketing. To not just be focused on being better, but being different, because people don't just buy what you do, they buy who you are. The second piece of this is what we call the unique mechanism. There's a great book. It's called Breakthrough Advertising. And if you haven't read this, and if you're a marketer, get it. It's freaking good. And he talks about how there are different stages of markets where, you know, you imagine like weight loss. The first time someone discovered how to help someone lose weight, there was no unique mechanism needed. There was no like hook. It was simply someone like saying, hey, I can help you lose weight. And that in and of itself would be the magic like promise. And be like, that's crazy. I'll work with you. Yeah. And then what happened was it was now about like magnifying the claim. It was like, I'm going to help you lose 10 pounds of weight. And the more popularized this became, and the more people who claimed this to be true, the claims had to get bigger and more interesting, right? So that you cut through the noise and stood out. And so you imagine like it progressed and it went from I help you lose weight to I help you lose 15 pounds to I help you lose 15 pounds in 30 days without exercise, right? To now it's like I help you lose weight 15 pounds in 30 days using the ketogenic like cycling process or whatever, you know, and now it's a unique mechanism. And what we can learn about this is that with coaches and consultants, like let's just talk about the business space, for example. Like for us, we help coaches get clients. And that was the unique claim once upon a time. It was like, I help you lose weight. And people were like, fantastic, here's my money. But now you've got to really drill down on the how you do it.
Yeah.
And there are two ways to think about this. It's like the with or without, right? So it's like with automated group funnels, right? And so you can see like, I help you make 100K with VAs and cold outreach. Do you know what's just as unique? By saying, I'll make you 100K without VAs, without cold outreach. Because now it's like, oh, that's interesting. Like I've heard the other thing. And so I don't know if this is making sense. Feel free to ask a follow-up question. But the first piece is like, just lead with who you are, because people don't just buy your expertise, they buy your authenticity. And the second thing is like, what's the unique way you're approaching this? So it's not about trying to get inventive and going like, well, it's not just get clients. It's like, I'm going to help you like be more productive. It's like, no, businesses want more clients, but it's the how that you do it that's really going to help people stand out. And so regardless of what you promise to give people, you need to give people what they want, and then how to stand out is you help them achieve it in a unique way.
Yeah, 100%. Dan, I think it was really on point. Like a lot of coaches we see in the space, when they want to stand out, the first thing they do is they keep on adding modules in the membership. 10 hours of content extra, right? And I think what you just mentioned, like being truly themselves is what they should be really doing to attract the right tribe, rather than trying to add extra 10 modules in their program, right? And that was really on point, brother. It was really exciting. And now coming back to the point, like as you really mentioned people how to stand out, right? Now, as you just mentioned, the marketing message, as it gets more narrow, they can easily stand out, as you just mentioned. So once someone actually gets narrowed down to a specific audience, the one problem they have, especially when it comes to coaches, consultant agencies, that they really struggle to make their first high ticket sales, right? Like they cannot think, okay, like I cannot charge someone like more than $500, like because they have this issues, right? So I'd love to hear like how you can actually help someone to transition and create a high ticket offer which can actually sell.
Yeah, so I have to give mad credit to one of my friends and mentors, Alex Hormozy. So if someone gets nothing else from what I'm saying, buy his book, $100 Million Offers, because it's really good. And there was one piece of the whole book was great, but there was one piece of it that really stood out to me. And so one of the things that we found is we've done just in 3 years, just under 3 million, and most of that's been in the last like 18 months. So we've just got our second 2 Comma Club award on the way. And to kind of share for perspective, like the first million was mainly with the agency, and the second one over the last 12 months has been with the coaching program. And so in the agency, what we found was that it was really hard to deliver, but it was really easy to sell, right? So for us, we created an offer with our agency that was truly irresistible. Like when I got on sales calls, firstly, I had so much demand for it that we had a waiting list. And then not only did we have a waiting list, but I told people the price before they even got on the call. And so then when they got on the call, we had a 90% close rate. But the reason is if you think about, there are coaches who want calls, because that was what our agency did. What we focused in on was we helped them run the ads, right? But then we also realized that they really hated copywriting. So then we're like, you know what, we're going to run the ads and optimize them and build them out and scale them, but we're also going to write the copy. And then we realized the creative was important too, so we're going to also own the creative. So we solved all those problems for people. And then what we found is that there were holes in their funnel, that there were things that weren't optimized. And so we would contact them or the team and would say, hey, like you need to fix this because it's affecting the overall performance. Can you solve this in the funnel? And they'd go, yeah, sure. And then a week would go past and it wouldn't have happened. And so eventually what we did is then we did the ads and we did the funnels. And then we realized the power of email automation. And we realized that not just was it needed to be the beautiful ads and the well-converting funnel, but there needed to be the email automation that was dialed in. And so eventually what happened was, for a retainer fee every month, we managed all the ads, we wrote all the copy, created all the creative, we built the funnels, and then we created the email automation campaigns. Now, hard to sell, but hard to deliver, but very, very easy to sell.
100%.
But when it comes to coaching, what I find is that people go the opposite direction. They go for, how do I make this the easiest to deliver I possibly can? And then because of that, it's the hardest to sell, right? Like people are coming on a call with us and we say, yeah, so there is training curriculum, there is a Facebook group, and there's some support calls. But the problem is the market for most of our prospects now, depending on the market you're in, and ours, it's been like people have been through courses and programs before, is they have been through a program that sounds exactly like yours before. And guess what? They didn't get the result that they wanted. And so when you're saying, hey, you remember that program that you went through that you didn't get results with? Well, ours is exactly like that, except it's got a new name, right? Instead of the high-ticket accelerator, it's the elite mastermind or whatever it might be. And one of the things that has been a huge breakthrough for us, even in the last 2 months, that's led to, over 400,000 in total sales just over the last 2 months with this new offer, is we decided with this coaching offer, we are going to make it harder to deliver for us and figure out what are the key pieces that we can own, make it 100% done for you, for the clients, so that ultimately it's easy to sell. Because for me, I realized I would much rather spend my time solving client success issues, meaning like how do we make our product and our program and our systems to deliver better, than spending all my time and energy trying to get people interested in working with me. Does that make sense? So it's like, for most of us, we spend all of our energy going like, buy my stuff, book a call, like here's a client result, like please book a call, like here I am. And it's exhausting. And people get on the call and we go like, here's the program. And they're like, let me think about it. And you're like, oh, and then you go back to it. And what I realized is I would much rather spend like overpromise and overdeliver, or like make huge promises and then figure out how to build the team and the process and the infrastructure needed to deliver on those promises. And so now what we have is this, it is a coaching program for sure, but it has like agency style elements. And so one of the things that I would say for your audience being coaches, consultants, agency owners, is I think every agency owner would benefit from having coaching elements to their business, right? So if you help build funnels and generate appointments for people, how can you coach them through turning those appointments into sales, right? Well, maybe there's some modules, maybe there's scripting, a playbook. And so it's really about how do you solve every problem that that person's going to have between where they are and the goal that they've set. And the second piece of it is for coaches, how do you add some done for you elements, or some like just think easy for the clients, right? Cheat sheets, plug and play, copy paste, done for you, done like heavily done with you. Like one of the things we do is we have an offer workshop with people. We're literally one-to-one. they jump on a call with us and we build the offer out for them, literally step-by-step pricing, length of program. Now that's just an example of like some of the ways we're trying to make it harder for us to deliver, meaning like it's harder to scale from that
Yeah.
perspective, but much easier to
Mm-hmm.
sell because people go, this sounds awesome. And so hopefully that makes sense. Like that's my framework for looking at that, is that if you want to create that truly easy to deliver, it's more than likely going to be harder to sell. And so you have to
Yeah.
find the sweet spot for you where it's easy to sell, clients are going to get great results, and you have a business that you really enjoy.
100%. And I think you really figured out, like, everyone in coaching space and agency space, they should be creating the, like what you just mentioned, like hybrid offer, which involves the client throughout the process so that they get their skin in the game. And that's what they need. Like when they're paying you high ticket, especially, they look for more involvement of yourself, right? And if you're just saying, hey, it's 15K for my program, you're gonna get 2 support calls a week, 1 hour
Right.
each, and you're gonna have like a membership access, they'll be like, "Ooh, like I can probably get that in Udemy for $499 or something like that." And they can really compare you when you
Right.
give that. But as you just mentioned, if you give them more implementation along with the information, I think that's what really helps us to scale up with high ticket
Yeah.
pricing. That was really on point, Dan.
And one of the things that I would add is like, I think especially when people are under their first 15 clients, right? Like they are trying to get a sense of momentum. I was talking with someone yesterday and they were at 2K a month. And I was like, this is what you need to do your program. You need to dial this stuff in so clients are getting an incredible deal and they're on a sales call and they feel the offer is so good that feel stupid to say no. And the next question, which is such a common question, but is a really stupid one, right? And I'll explain why it is he goes, yeah, but is that scalable? And I was like, dude, how many clients are you working with right now? He's like, 1. I'm like, great. So can we just agree that for the next 10 clients, you're going to deliver the world to them so that you can actually start getting some money? And then maybe once you're getting to the point where you've got to figure out, is it scalable, that we can then have that next conversation, right? And he's like, yeah, totally. And the reality is that we try and solve like 10 problems down, because like we've enrolled, I think, 29 clients in the last like 4 or 5 weeks, right? Which is a lot for us because we also keep a lot of clients. So we've got a lot more clients than that. It would be stupid of me to go, how do we handle 100 clients? Because the reality is I'm not there. Like we don't have to handle 100 clients in a month because we've got multiple problems to solve before we get to that one. And so one of the biggest piece of advice I have for people is in their offer, if they are struggling to get momentum, promise the world and then figure out how to deliver it. And when you make those first 10 to 15 sales, you're then going to have money that you can
True.
then strategically invest in team and processes and operations to make business easier again. And then going forward, you can then start to pare back maybe some of the things that you are committed to that maybe aren't as high value to the prospects. Because I think this goes with picking niches as well. People act as if they have to get married to the niche or the offer and it's a forever thing, right? And the reality
Yeah.
is you can pivot all the time. Like, but the point is choosing a direction and sticking with it long enough to see results and then improving and optimizing as you go, rather than going like, I'm at step 1, but how do I fix step 7? And the reality is go to 6 and then you'll figure it out.
100%. And I think this is a key learning for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially in the coaching space, because they always worry about that $1 million problem when they're not even making consistent 5 figures.
That's a great way to
Totally.
put it. Don't worry
Right.
about 10-figure problems when when you haven't even got to 6-figure problems.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. And Dan, like, I think like one thing I've really admired, especially when it comes to your system, is the way you're actually getting consistent appointments with the automated group funds, with your microwave strategy, as well as the show up rate. It's like nuts. Like your show up rate is way higher than anyone else in the industry, as per my knowledge. So can you talk a little bit about like how to actually get more qualified appointments and get more show ups in a nutshell for all of the agency space and coaches, consultants?
Yes, I have a great thought on this because I just did a small training on it the other day and I think it really resonated. I think the number one way to get people to not want to book a call with you, right? If we start with the opposite, is to just make it about working with you, right? So position your call as just being the thing that they need to do to get information about working together, right? That is the way to really clear out your calendar, as in like you're not going to get many bookings, because what you're asking people to do is to really consider if they need a coach or an agency right now. They're now trying to guess, if they don't already know, how much it costs. So they're making budget decisions even before they get on a call, and they're trying to guess all that's in your program or your service, right? And so you're you're asking them to make sales decisions in the marketing process. And so the problem is at that stage, your prospects are not program focused, they are problem focused, right? All they know typically is that they have a problem, right? Not enough sales calls. I'm in bad shape. I want more profit in my business. Like whatever it is you solve, they have a problem focus right now. And the best way to position the next steps in your sales process is to solve the next problem. So, for example, if I just say, join my group, and once you're in my group, I'm going to message you to see if we're a fit to work together, what's the likelihood people who don't really know you are going to want to join your group? Like it's really low, right?
100%.
Because
Yeah.
trust isn't there. The relationship isn't there, right? There's not enough context. And so the metaphor that seems to land for people is, I've been out of the dating game for a very long time, right? But the metaphor of walking up to a person in a bar and saying, hey, I saw you from across the room. I saw you looking at me. I was looking at you. I was just wondering if you want to get married. Like, what's the issue with that? Well, you've skipped like 20,000 steps, right? And the reality is that that's what we love to do as coaches is we think if we offer people a link directly to our calendar, right? They come to our profile and there's a link in our calendar. What do we think people are going to do? Oh, this is so easy. They're just going to book right in. But guess what people do? They don't jump in your calendar. They instead click away or they unfriend or they just like ignore you because we are skipping all these steps of relationship. And so when you make your prospect pathway, right, the gap between cold and sold, and you help them solve problems by going through your pathway and helping them solve problems at a deeper level, they're going to want to go deeper into the process. So what I mean by that is when they join your group, there needs to be a reason, right? And it needs to be focused around a problem or a promise, right? So what's the goal of the group? Like if I join the group, what am I going to get help with? Oh, it's going to be about helping you get more calls with the right prospects. Okay, cool. I'm going to go through it. Then once they're in the group, there's probably going to be one core training or one module or a mini course in our case that you want them to go through, right? And what's that going to be about? Is it going to be about, hey, watch this training to find out if we're a good fit to work together? No, because I don't really know you. It's going to be about going further and deeper with that particular problem or move them towards that goal, right? And again, for us, it's typically more calls with the right prospects. And so then they go watch the training. And at the end of the training, if we do a call to action of some sort of let's book a call, what's the better way to do it? Well, the wrong way to do it that I see a lot of people doing it is if you want to find out more about working together, book a call. And that's a great way to add friction if you have too many leads. Like it's totally legitimate. If you've got more leads than you know what to do with, you've got more leads than time, filtering like that is 100% okay. But for most people watching this, that's not the problem they have. They have not enough
100%.
leads.
Yeah,
So the
they need
better
more
way
calls.
to position your call, yeah, totally. So the better way to position your call is solving the problem, right? Like one of the ways we position it is we say, regardless of whether or not we were to work together, we can definitely provide some key insights on solving problem and getting to goal. So you should book a call, right? And that's the way we present it. And that's actually what happens on the calls. So then the call is about creating a game plan to solve that problem. Now, the call is not about coaching people on the step-by-step of what to do. We are coaching them on how to think. So we're shifting their perspective. We're giving them clarity on their business. And then if we feel like it's a fit, that's when we talk about our program. And so that's why our show-up rates and our close rates are so high, because every step of the process is valuable for the prospect. So rather than being program focused, where we go, hey, like come and work with me, book a call, give me money. Instead, we're looking at them and we're saying, I'm here to help. And if you have this problem, then this training is going to be really helpful for you. Hey, if that training was helpful, this call would be even more helpful for you in solving this particular problem. I want to invite you to book a call. Here's what you can expect from the call. Here's all the agenda out on the table. We're going to work on a game plan for you. If at the end we feel like there's a fit, we can even share about what it would look like to work together. But regardless, you're going to have a game plan you can implement with us or on your own. And that's why people want to book calls with us, because we make it about them and not about us. And that's the best way to create qualified prospects and qualified appointments.
Oh my God, Dan, like this is so much value information, especially like I think like what you just mentioned is being done by 90% of the people in a wrong way. So they're just being that dude who is putting a client testimonial and asking people like, hey, the link is in the comment, click and book a call, book a call, book a call. But now you're turning the conversation around about the value proposition you're going to give them, because as you just mentioned, it's not about trying to get them on a call, because even the calls you're getting are with that friction, like this guy might sell, and they book a call, and that's why they don't show up. 50% show up rate, 30% show up rate. It's because you pre-framed that they're going to be sold on something before they get on a call. So they already have that mindset. That's why they don't show up. It was really transformational. I think this is going to be like a key turnaround for a lot of coaches, consultants, and agency owner if they really implement. And I believe, Dan, honestly, the just call to action, which you mentioned, the shift in that from actually being like, need more help, click a call, click to book a call. I think turning that around to more like, we are going to create a game plan, that's going to get them extra 30 to 40% booking rate, just like that with the call to action change. That was
Yeah,
just
that's
on
right.
point. I really love it. That was really, really, really powerful, actually. So, guys, make sure to implement that like yesterday. Go do it. Okay. So that was amazing, Dan. Let's get into the next question. And you are in the coaching consulting agency space day in, day out. And you see like even existing coaches who are killing it in the industry and new coaches, especially, they do a lot of rookie mistakes, right? So we'd love to hear like, what are the common mistakes most coaches, consultants, and agency owners needs to avoid in a quick way?
Yeah, cool. So definitely I'll recap some of the quick things I've already said because I think this would be my answer regardless of whether we've already talked about it. So definitely forgetting to lead with who they are. And that's like a really kind of philosophical way to share it. But like, let me give you an example. So I was on a call with one of our clients the other day. He's a weight loss coach, and he's been struggling to get traction with his organic marketing. And so we're getting in some tips, and I was even looking at his profile, giving him like a Facebook profile audit is one of the things we do for clients. We look at the opportunities for them to change their profile to get even more organic traction. And then I came across this photo. And so just keep in mind, this guy's a weight loss coach and he's in fantastic shape, right? And so I think that he's always been this way, right? And he helps dads lose weight, right? So that's his niche. And then we come across this photo, and it's like a before and after photo. And it's like, the person 30 kilos heavier. I think it's like 60 something pounds heavier. And then a picture of him now. And I'm going like, hey, who's this guy on the left? And he's like, oh, that's me. And I was like, no way. That's your journey. You lost all that weight. And he's like, yeah. And rather than me being impressed, I was annoyed. I was like, you've been in our program for 4 months and I follow you. How have I never seen this story? And he's like, oh, I used to share it a lot. And then I just thought people got bored of it. And I'm like, dude, this is your entire credibility within what you do is you were helping people do the same thing that you just did. Can you see how powerful that is? And he's like, the penny's like starting to drop for him. He's like, oh. And I started to see him with fresh eyes because all of a sudden I'm not seeing this guy who's always been healthy, who's always got it together, giving us health advice. It's the guy who's overcome the things himself and now has this incredible story. And so mistake number one is like people just talking about what they know and about their expertise and making their marketing and their messaging just about business stuff or whatever their expertise is, and not enough sharing why they care about what they do, what their journey has been into this point. And so I was looking at someone's profile the other day, and they had this monstrous month in business a couple of months ago, and it was like incredible. It was multiples of what we do in a single month. So I was so impressed. And then in the post, he was sharing about how the month after he had like a 400% decrease in revenue, and he was sharing about the biggest lessons in that. And him sharing that, I respected him more. Like he was going like, we had this monstrous month and I thought it was going to go on forever, and then it didn't. And here's what I learned. And it was in that sharing of not only what he learned, but sharing more of his personality and story and things going on with his family, which is what led to that month, that I respected and lent in more. So first one is like people trying to have it all together and only talking about their expertise and not really sharing more of who they are. The second piece is, again, making their marketing and sales process program focused rather than problem focused. If you can make your marketing and sales process about solving your prospects' problems rather than trying to qualify people for your program, you will book more calls and sell things. The last thing I'll say is tying back to the very first thing we talked about is forgetting that the whole game we're in, if you're in the service industry or the product industry, like if you're a coach or consultant selling a program or a service, is the whole game is client success. So we spend so much time on marketing and sales that we forget that the main goal is to change people's lives or businesses or help them make more money or lose weight or become more productive. And so we spend 99% of our time marketing our product and 1% of our time making our product better. And I would just say, like, one of the reasons that we've had such a high client success rate is because we are client success obsessed. Like, we just hired 2 new coaches in the last week to add to our client success team, probably more than we needed, but because I wanted margin for more people to just make our clients more successful. And so I would say, like, marketers would sell more and have to market less if they simply made their product better, which is a
Yeah.
variation of what I was saying earlier, which is you can have easy to sell and hard to deliver, right? Or you can have easy to deliver and hard to sell. And I would much rather have a product that requires a lot of our energy, that produces incredible results, and because of that, it has word of mouth marketing and it's easier to sell, than something that's quite crap, is basically similar to everyone else's. That's also a real mission to market and sell. So I'd say, like, that'd be the last mistake that I see a lot of people making.
100%, Dan. I think that was really on point, especially as an entrepreneur. When you're trying to actually help coaches, you think about like adding more value and trying to get more people into your program, focusing on the marketing side of it, but not really looking at the success of the actual client. Because if you're number one in marketing, you're selling at a higher scale, you might get clients maybe 100 at max, but then if you see the success rate, there is no case studies or testimonials coming in, day out. You really see like a sink happening inside your business, because it's not a long-term game you're trying to play here. You're looking for
Yeah,
that
that's right.
quick buck, right? And like once you shift it on the way you just mentioned, which is making sure that your clients is having success as much as you focus on your marketing as a 50-50, that's when you can actually make sure that you're getting consistent clients, on autopilot. That was really amazing, Dan. It's a real transformation a lot of entrepreneurs should make right now. Really, honestly, like they should shift their focus from marketing, trying to sell more, to actually making sure they get the best results for the existing clients, because that's going to attract more clients, obviously. That was really awesome, Dan. Let's get into some questions, especially like you have a different hybrid model where you're delivering to your clients, with the done with you, with you're coaching them, having more accountability holder, like amazing stuff in your program, right? So we'd love to know more about like what kind of tools and systems you used inside your company to project manage, to client manage for the maximum productivity.
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things that I learned really, really early on, and was really helpful in kind of the second stage of our business, when I talked about us getting focused on what we do as a business, was learning the power of team. Like, firstly, one of the most powerful shifts that you can make in order to be more productive is shift your question from how to who. Like, there are some things that, based on your skill set or personality, could take you 10 hours and unlimited units of energy, as in it's just stressful, it's hard for you to do, that you can find some people who can do it in an tenth the time and energy, because it's their giftedness, right? It's their personality. And so one of the things in our agency was like, I'm a promoter style personality. I love marketing. I love selling. Of course, I love product, but I didn't like being the guy clicking around in the ads manager building funnels. And so our agency really took off when I found that person, right? And so for the first piece of the productivity is that you need to find the right people at the right stage of your business to support you, that are not just like you. Like, this is one of the mistakes I see people make, is they hire people who are just like them. They hire their friends. And they say most business partnerships that I see fail because it's basically just two friends that were kind of lonely in business and so have come together and are now like similar skill sets, similar personalities, now just doing similar things in the business. And so one day this guy's taking the sales calls and the next day this guy's taking the sales calls. But good hiring is about finding people who are strong where you are weak. And that's what leads to a productive business, is all of these people being tens in different areas, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is like we have a very minimum effective dose when it comes to these things. Like, you can go really down the rabbit hole of automation and software. And so we are always looking for what we call the small hinges that swing big doors, right? And so we use Asana for task and project management. We use Slack for team communications. And then everything else basically lives in the Google universe. So you see like Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides. And those are the really key things for us. And then outside of that, there's a couple of like helpful softwares that we love, which is Loom, the screen recording software that is still to this day. If you don't have it, it's the thing to get. It's the best value software I think I have. It's like $10 a month. And I use it every single day. So I would say that those are really important. And then trying to think if there's anything else on the productivity side. I just think like the biggest productivity hack is really making sure that you, as the business owner, are only focusing on revenue generating activities, right? So anytime that you find yourself doing stuff regularly that falls into stuff that you could have someone else do for $25 an hour, for $20 an hour, for $15 an hour, you are better off finding out how to get the money if you don't have it, to sign a client, to then pay someone to do that. So like yesterday, we had someone come around and cook meals for the week for us. Then we had our cleaner come around. Then we had our lawnmower person come around. It just happened to be all on the same day. And then in the afternoon, I had my personal trainer come around, right? And by no means is that every day for us. We just have all these people kind of tending to every need. But there were a number of things that I realized early on in our marriage, for example, that I just wasn't good at. Like I was not going to be interested in like doing lawns because I could get someone for 30 or 40 bucks a month to come and do that.
Yeah.
Neither my wife or I like cooking. And so the moment we can afford to do that, we have someone come and prepare a lot of the meals ahead of time for us. Personal training is another example because it's like I knew that was important for me to be productive, but the motivation that it took for me to show up and work out even when I didn't want to, I felt like I wasn't going to have. So having that person in my corner and paying them to come and keep me accountable was really important. But then there are things within business where you like might hire a virtual assistant, or what one of the things we teach is an appointment setter, right? Get it when you get started. It's of infinite importance that you as the business owner are setting your own appointments to really dial in your system, to figure out the process and the scripting. But then once you've nailed that and you're consistently booking calls, it's then finding someone else to take that process over for you and start appointment setting. And then you just focus on selling. So now you do marketing, someone's booking people in from the marketing that are engaging into calls, and now you're just taking the sales calls. And then eventually, like me, I don't do any sales whatsoever. I just do a very little bit in our Facebook group in terms of marketing. And that's kind of how the automated group funnel was born, is that I'm involved in our group about 60, 90 minutes a week. And on average, it's producing about $5,800 a day for us in cash collected. And I only have to do an hour and a half a week in marketing because we have VAs and appointment setters. And then they set calls for the closer, and the closer enrolls the clients. And so it's very automated from my experience. So it's a group that almost runs without me.
Absolutely. I think this is definitely a really entrepreneur should be really looking at, is that they need to be building a sustainable business, is what like you're doing, right? And a lot of entrepreneurs, when they make money, they be like very sticky to it. They don't want to spend on something else. Even if they don't know, like say some graphic design, they spend 8 hours to learn that stuff when they can delegate that for a couple of $100, just like that, right? And the reason is like they should be thinking about, how can I make more so that I can actually spend more for the fulfillment part, rather than me trying to learn the fulfillment myself, right? I think that was a real shift in your business, which helped you to get more productive and kind of delegate the task and have the automated business which you ever imagined. Because a lot of people are in the fulfillment, that's why they're stuck at a certain income level, because they are doing the fulfillment themselves. That's a real key learning here, Dan. It was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and the secret is once you free up that time, you then have to figure out how to make more money. Like you've got to use the time you just bought back to focus on revenue generating activities. Because the mistake
100%.
I see people make is they hire too soon because they can't be bothered, right? And so they can't be bothered setting appointments for themselves anymore. So now they have an appointment setter in there, and then they're off like launching another business or doing crypto. And unless you have ample margin in business, you have to then take that 5 hours a week you just got back, the 10 hours you just got back, and focus on making more money. And
100%.
that's the secret, right? Like if you just buy back your time and then waste it on other things, all you just incurred is an expense by hiring that person.
Exactly.
But if you bring them on and use that time to buy back precious time and energy to then invest it into other revenue generating activities, it's gone from an expense to an investment. And that's the big shift that a lot of people don't see, is they don't reinvest their time into revenue generating activities.
100%, Dan. And I really laugh when someone actually starts a business, and once they get to that consistent 5-figure level, they try to automate that and get to a different business, and they lose everything which is happening in the 5-figure business, right? Like I genuinely believe if someone is not even making at least 7 figures, they shouldn't be thinking about starting a different business.
Yeah.
Never.
I won't be starting another business for a long time. Like I want to take this to $1 million a month with just one business and a couple of products. And that's the other thing, is that like if people don't launch multiple businesses, they launch too many offers. And so if I could re-answer your question from earlier of another mistake, it's that people launch too many offers too soon. And I think if you're under $50,000 a month, just focus on one offer and make it really, really good.
100%, and I think that's something people need to be really taking. In case if you are a business owner who already have a lot of offers, kill them off and make them one product or offer so that you can go all in with that until or unless you're at least having $1 million a year for yourself. Because every product or service, no matter the niche, you could hit that level, but it's just about the consistency and the kind of focus you're actually putting on that. That was really awesome, Dan. Let's get into the next question. They will be so much exciting. Like, do you kind of have any routines? Like, how does your daily routine look like for the success you actually achieve?
Yeah, dude, I love this question because I think it's going to be really underwhelming for people. So, I was a huge believer in like all sorts of routines pre-kids. And so this is coming from a dad, right? So if someone is pre-kids or even has kids and has figured this out, kudos to you, but this is my experience, like juggling kids. So pre-kids, like I was really big. I was like getting up early, and I'm a person of faith, so I was reading my Bible and praying and walking and doing gratitude journals and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things I found was that and again, it wasn't just kids, but as I got older, I realized like all of those routines, there were only a few things that were the small hinges that swing big doors, meaning like the small pieces that had big results. And so the biggest thing for me is every morning I go for a walk, and that's it. Like, and on that walk, I might be listening to music, or I'm just got my AirPods in. They're in noise canceling mode, and I'm just listening to nothing. And I might be thinking, I might be praying, but that's like my only routine. And then I've now engineered like my workspace to be at our house. So we've got a separate office. I've got team working there about 10 minutes from where I am. But I realized I really like working by myself. And so I've got like this cabin on our property. And so I literally go for a walk, and then I come back and I just walk home, and I'm in the office and I make a coffee, and I don't have breakfast, and I get into work. And one of the things I found is you really need to figure out like what it is you need and what problems you're trying to solve. Like routines should solve problems, right? And so if you are not grateful and you have a very pessimistic mindset, for example, then a
Mm-hmm.
gratitude journal can be an incredible way to shift your perspective, right? But for
Yeah.
me to do it now, like I live a very grateful life, can absolutely improve, can always grow in that area, but like my life is filled with gratitude. So for me to add that into my routine because some dude said on a blog, here are the 10 things successful people do, like I'm wasting my time right now, right? One of the things that I just found was really important was that I have so much mental chatter in my head that going for a walk
Mm-hmm.
is a really important thing. Is that if I woke up in the morning and I opened social media and I opened my emails, I would just react right away, even if it's good, even if it's like new clients and things like that. It's just like my heart's beating, the adrenaline's going, and it's such a hard way to start the day. And rather than starting the day with intention, I was reacting. And so kind of tied into my morning routine is I've just deleted social media off my phone, and it's been incredible. And so I wake up, there's nothing for me to look at on my phone. I grab some water, I put my clothes on, and I go for a walk, and then I just come in and work. And so the last piece would be I have a really early cutoff for finishing work. I finish about 2 o'clock every afternoon, and that's
Wow.
part of the daily success routine, I guess you could say, is because I want to be a success in my family. Right? I think there are so many examples of entrepreneurs that burn out, that become estranged from their wife, estranged from their kids or husband, and I don't want to be one of those statistics. I want to create an incredible business that allows me to live an awesome life, not trying to live a life just to keep up with my business and majoring on the business and minoring on the life. Like my kids and my wife of infinite importance to me and are way more important than whatever I'm doing here in this business, right? And so that's
100%.
why I create success routines around family, is because like ending that is really important for me. And by no means do I nail that. There's still a long way I have to go around balancing those things, but it is very important to me. And so that's why you'll never catch me at 6 p.m., in the office. I might start at 6 a.m., but you'll never catch me working at nights because that's the boundary that I'm trying to set there.
100%. And I think that's really important for every entrepreneur to have that kind of balance, because they don't want to be in a situation where they're having probably a couple of 8 figures in bank and they look back and they have zero memories which they can laugh at, right? So that's a really bad situation to be, no matter what. That was really awesome. Thanks for sharing the simple routine, Dan. We really love it. Let's get to the next question. So you've been a pastor, especially educating youth on Jesus, and because of the background you've been in, you're trying to create their impact in your 20s, right? So if there is an opportunity to talk to a 20-year-old you or someone who's just getting started in the space, what will be your number one suggestion to them?
Man, that's such a good question. Like, I have wrestled with this because I love business and I loved what I did with teenagers. It's crazy to me that it took me till I was 28 to start a business. Like, I had no business experience prior to that. And so I'm not sure if I would go back to being 20 and start a business alongside what I was doing. But I think like bringing entrepreneurship and the development that that's caused me even in the last 3 years, I would want that goodness sooner. Like business, like marriage, is one of the best vehicles for personal development if you allow it to be. The thing though that I think has been a constant, and I cannot overemphasize this enough, is the thing that brought me out of the really crazy dysfunctional family, the thing that got me through all of those years in church and doing what I was doing, because they were very challenging. Even though they're amazing, there was so many challenges in there. Like we were very broke. We didn't get paid very much, right? Which was not a fault of the church we're working with. It's just the reality of the work we were doing. And then even
True.
over business over the last few years, the number one piece of advice I said to anyone is like, you need to find a mentor. Like whether it's a coach that you pay, whether it's someone in your world that will call you out on your BS, that will tell you what you need to hear, not just what you want to hear, um,
Mm-hmm.
and is living a life or an aspect of the life that you want. And so I did this exercise the other day with my wife, just very impromptu. And I was talking about this whole idea of mentors and just how grateful I was. And between now and when I was 10, I could count almost 30 people that I would credit to some level as having a level of mentorship in my life, whether it was just spiritual, whether it was a teacher that was incredibly supportive of me, whether it was like business coaches that I had hired. I was just on a call with someone today who's a pastor in America. We've never met. We connected through Twitter 11 years ago, and we have talked multiple times a year over those 11 years, and he's been a huge mentor to me. And so
Wow.
mentors come in all shapes and sizes. But if I was talking to 20-year-old Dan or talking to the 20-year-old listening to this, really insert any age, but especially if you're younger, is like find good mentors. And they don't have to be even official. I mean, I found so many mentors in books. Like there are some people that are passed on that can't mentor me. Like one of my favorite books of all time is Man's Search for Meaning, written by a guy called Viktor Frankl, who survived Auschwitz and all of the horrific realities there. And he's one of my life mentors. And so whether
Wow.
it's in person, online, in a book, find people that you want to emulate, that you can learn from, that embody your values or have achieved a level of success that you aspire to, and then become students of them. And if there's one trait that I think I have, like a superpower I have, it's that I'm incredibly coachable. Like I like anytime something blows up in my face, the reality sits with me for like a minute or two in terms of just the negative effects. And then I straight away kick into like, what is this teaching me? Like, what can I learn from this? And I think
Wow.
like that's with coaches, that becomes a really great characteristic in a student. You want to spend more time with that student because someone who's coachable, meaning they're actually taking what you're learning and doing something with it. And so there are a couple of pieces there, but find a mentor, be coachable. Those would be my two biggest things.
Yeah, 100%. Dan, I think that was really awesome, and absolutely, I think like you just nailed it with the answer, because a lot of people say they don't have money to invest in coaches, but you can literally get a coach for $7, which is like you can buy the
Yeah.
top entrepreneurs book and you can get them as your mentor, like that, right? It was really awesome. And I think what you just mentioned, which is being coachable, is also really important, because we see these mid-level entrepreneurs who kind of sort of make money to cover their expenses, and they be like this most ego person you can ever imagine. Right,
Mhm.
absolutely, brother. So let's get into a couple of more questions. We will be quickly wrapping up this, so no problem. So yeah, can we get into this next question, which is, what are your lab's biggest achievements so far, and any next bigger goals?
Yeah. So I think this is a really funny one because uh, I think the broke kid in me,
Mm-hmm.
um, even up until recently, was stoked that I had like I have a Tesla, which is very very cool. We
Mm-hmm.
own our own home, which is really cool. Our home is cool. Like it's like got a home gym and a sauna and a pool. And those things up until recently, I think were big achievements for me, having grown up really poor. And I think there was a sense of ego and identity attached to them. And then honestly, like I think the things I'm most proud of is my character traits, like who I am as a person, and lying down at night and being really happy with the person I am. I'm a person in progress. I'm working. I'm growing, but I'm like really grateful for like the values that I have and the traits that I possess. The second thing will be skills. Like I think having developed skills of marketing, sales, communication, the ability to coach, those things are of infinite value to me and the things I'm really proud to have built. And then definitely like the client success that we've had. Like we have helped our clients in terms of what we've been able to track, over $75 million in recorded produced revenue, which is incredible. And I think
Wow.
that's just been over the last 18 months. And we've spent millions in ads and generated tens of thousands of sales calls and all that. And then kind of wrapping all that up would be my family. Like being a dad is just so wild. like it's like seeing your heart and soul on the outside and in
True.
someone else. And like I just think I think I'm a good dad and I have a lot to improve on. But like I think that's a really big achievement for me, being so invested in the life of my kids, because I just didn't grow up with my dad being around. And thankfully we have more of a relationship now, and it's really it's developing even as I get older. But like I think one of my biggest life achievements is like I can look back at this stage of my kid's life and know that I'm being as present as I can, that I'm doing my best to be in their life and in their corner and on their side. And then same with our marriage. Like we are just you're coming to 9 years of marriage. We've already had friends get divorced, things like that. And I think like for me, and no judgment by the way, I totally get that, but like for me, we are trying to build a marriage to do the long haul, and so I think like
Wow.
our ability to work on our marriage and prioritize one another and forgive and grow through the discomfort of like us being stretched and whatnot, I think is whether you'd call it an
Absolutely great
achievement or
achievements.
whatnot. And then the big goal, man, is just like to continue to create a business that I really love, that as the business gets bigger, life gets better and not worse.
100%, brother. That was really on point. Really, those are great achievements. And let's get to the next quick question, brother. So, the biggest mistake in your business, especially so far?
Yeah, trying to do too much too soon, right? Too many offers, not hiring fast enough. I think was an issue. I think for the first 12 months, I just did everything by myself, and then
Mm-hmm.
it took me 12 months to go from 0 to 20K, and then back down to 0 again. And then when I hired someone, we went from 0 to 100K in 9 months, and so that was
Wow.
a really big thing. And I think too many offers, not hiring soon enough. And then I think also like the false belief that you have to be good at everything in your business, right? And I think like that's been a big lesson for me, is hiring people who actually know the stuff that I'm not good at, and I never need to know it. And then I think the third thing would just be like valuing intensity over consistency. I think in the weight loss community, they love the 90-day challenges, right? And of
Mm-hmm.
like how to transform your body in 90 days. And basically what you do is you just go all out over that period, and then you all of a sudden rebound, right? Because it's not
Yeah.
sustainable, right? And it's intensity over consistency. And so our business really values slow, consistent growth over intense growth that is explosive, but then ultimately shrinks back typically.
True, 100%, brother. That was really on point. So, we have two more questions here before we conclude. So, your main inspiration and key people involved in your journey.
What my main inspiration for success?
Yeah, and key people involved in your journey.
Yeah, good question. I think there's a lot of people that, like I said, I've really looked up to over the years. I think in terms of business, Sam Ovens has been really incredible. Alex Hormozy has been really incredible. A guy called Cole Gordon, another guy called Ravi Abuvala, Taki Moore, who I got to work with closely, both him as my coach, and then I joined his team. Those would be some key people for sure. And then, quite honestly, like a lot of the people that I really look up to are like not in the business space. Like they're pastors and priests and people that I just find so much value in outside of the business. So those would be kind of the key ones that come to mind.
Absolutely, Dan. And Dan, like, what an amazing person, the amazing strategies you have with the automated group funnels, which is just amazing. The way your client acquisition system works is definitely something different. People really need to adapt. So, how can our audience find you mentoring, brother, where they can actually get more help from you?
Yeah, dude, the number one way, and this is me taking my own advice from earlier, come and join the high ticket community. Because if you have an offer that you're looking to scale, or even you're looking for help refining that offer and then getting more calls to the right people, so you can ultimately get consistent clients and grow predictably, is the high ticket community on Facebook. So we have 2 free courses, completely free, no catch, no cost, just as a way of saying thanks for being a part of the community that will help you dial those things in even further. And so that's the best place to check us out for sure.
Absolutely. So, guys, make sure to check the caption and you will find the group to join. So, make sure to hang out with this dude. You'll have so much value. And Dan, what an incredible podcast session, brother. Any last word before we conclude the entire podcast session for today?
No, dude. I just if it's been valuable for you, let me know. I hope it has. And dude, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, Dan. And again, what an amazing session, brother. Thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. It was really great having you, brother. Really enjoyed the time. Guys, hopefully you got so much value so far. Make sure to re-listen to this podcast, take notes, and start implementing the way Dan mentioned on how you can tweak your offer, tweak your client acquisition system, and you'd be good to go. Just make sure to join the Facebook community of Dan as well, high ticket. Amazing mastermind, so you love the stuff. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed the podcast session so far. Stay tuned for the next interview. This is me, the Nikhil Sai, and Dan Bolton signing off for today. Peace.